Okay, Robert, do you want to tell us who you are and where we are?
Iskwi source in SInixt Native and Yapi Chin. I'm Robert Watt. I'm here in SInixt SInixt territory. We're right up here by where the little Slocan meets the big Slocan. We're just north of that. We're here in Slocan Valley, in the heart of SInixt territory. I'm Robert Watt. I was born down in the United States in Nispedal, Washington, on the Cabo Indian Reservation. The SInixt people are one of the 12 tribes of Indian people that live on the Cabo Indian Reservation. Now, our territory is in the States, but also in Canada, and it was always there. Our Tumhula, our territory, as I'd like to say, it was here before there was the United States or before there was a Canada. And it took a long time to get our human rights taken care of. When we first come up here, I come up here in 1983, but I lived over in the Creston area, then later on in Duck Lake. My good friend that later on turned into my wife, Irene Benally, she was going through the Bill C-31, where her mother married an American Indian, so her mother lost all of her Indian rights, and her children lost all of their Indian rights, according to the Bill C-31. So Irene used to be down in the States helping us do different things, and we went on a run there, and the boat decision, where they were trying to change the boat decision in the Northwest in Washington. That boat decision is where the Indians are allowed 50% of the salmon that are caught in that whole Northwest, and they were trying to change it to where we get less than 50%. So all the Indians from Nez Perce over in Idaho to different Indians down in Oregon and on the coast, I went down there as a representative of my people, and we ran all the way from like Seattle, Frank's Landing, Portland, back up to Seattle, and I was a runner then, so I probably put the most mileage in at that time, but the decision was changed to where it stayed. The boat decision stands. Indian people are still allowed 50% of the salmon, the fish resources taken in the Northwest, so that still stands. The Indians don't abuse that by trying to they could fish 50%, but it probably deplete the stocks of everybody's fish. So they got that right, but that doesn't mean they do that. But still, we want that right to have that say-so.
Go ahead, Robert. You talk a little bit about the significance of what is known in the Slocan Valley as Perry's Ridge, and the south ends with Frog Peak that's right behind you. Could you talk about?
Okay, I'll start with Perry's Ridge. It's the mountains back here that follow on this side of the Slocan River up to Slocan Lake. And Perry's Ridge on this side, that's where all the people that live on this side of the river, all the way up to Slocan Lake. That's where they get all the water comes down off of there. That's where we get all of our water down here also. And all of our neighbors all the way on up. That's where all their water comes from. So trying to really get the top end of that Perry's Ridge protected instead of letting them just cut it all out into clear cuts, because that would affect our water down here. And just trying to keep our water good and clean, even right down to the spring water and groundwater, is a very important thing to us. And our Frog Mountain, our peak back here, when I first got here, it was called something else. I can't remember the name. It was, I guess it was the first guy that found it or climbed it or seen it or something. But then we'd always call it Frog Mountain because it goes back into our old stories. And a lot of people couldn't see it. It's a frog facing this way. But if you wait till this time of the year when the snow melts, it'll melt all the way down, except for it'll show its eye right here as an avalanche chute. and it'll still have that white eye, and it's that mountain. It'll be looking up into the sky like that, and then at a certain time of the year, the eye is still showing. A little bit later in the year, then people can see the frog. Now it's common knowledge that it's called Frog Peak, Frog Mountain, because of that story. Before it was called something else.
You did a lot of the heavy lifting for the barter fair, which was a big part of bringing the SInixt culture to the Slocan Valley, to the West Kootenays. Could you just talk about your part in that? I know you did a lot of the heavy lifting and what it was about and why you guys did it.
Yeah, a big part of that was what we were doing was trying to raise up money to help support the big house and the camp, and to be part of the community, to show the people how our right from our old people like Bob and Rick or whoever showed up, right down to the young people, where like Agnes and those little kids, younger people, just to show the people that we're more than just one or two people. We got old people, we got young kids, we got infants, we got older women, we got older men, we got all of that. One thing, I just mentioned, I'm just going to ramble a little bit, but as long as it's raining, as long as there's water, something I shared with some of the students, sometimes I go and work at the Selkirk College, but one of the things I always share with them is one of the beliefs in our people have, but other Indian people like Quatley and them from way down by the Mexican border, Mexican Indians. And I like to think of it like that. It's like what we do sometimes from the first thing we get up in the morning, we'll have a drink of water. Before we do anything else, we'll have that drink of water and we'll talk to it and say, thank you for another day in life, And I was talking to those college students, I said, and that's been proven by scientifically, because there's this Dr. Asamoto, he's a Japanese guy, but he would do that too. He'd take a drop of water and tell it, thank you, I love you. And then that drop of water, he'd freeze it and it'd form a beautiful crystal when he'd talk to it like that water. But when he'd say to that water, I hate you and I don't like you, you're ugly, it wouldn't even form a crystal. So that's how a lot of our people on Turtle Island, they like, and I'm sure other people from the world over like to start their day like that, especially the ones that's got to walk a long ways, 10 miles to go grab some water and come back. To give thanks to that water when they finally have it. And all people, I think, should get up in the morning and give thanks to that water for another day in life, the life giver. That way, if they do that, they can respect the waters more. And just a beautiful thing to share, a beautiful way to feel. When it rains and uncomfortable like this, sometimes I still don't complain, because my friend Quatley, he said his mom, they come from a desert country way down there in Mexico. They said every time it rained, his grandmother would get out there and do a little dance and just be happy dancing in the rain because it's raining, just because it's raining. So some old lady can make him dance just because of the rain. I don't want to feel different. Oh, it's rainy. It's too wet to be out there, It's beautiful because that's what it is, a life giver, not only to us, but to everything else. Another day in life, I like waking up and thanking that water for that. And maybe when I drink that water, maybe it can come in me and form beautiful crystals. I don't want it to be forgotten. We love our water. We love our earth, our tamhulau. We love our air. We love the fire in the sky that makes everything grow. The elements, we love them.
So, could I ask, Robert,
Yep.
when I first met the SInixt and started, finding out about your culture, I heard many times about your sacred responsibility to the wildlife here, the fish, the water. Do you think that is still a strong feeling among your people? Obviously it's yourself. Could you talk a little bit about that sacred responsibility?
Yeah, well, a lot of that stuff, it goes right back to some of our old teachings, our old way, our old I guess some people call our stories, our myths, our coyote stories. I don't like talking about them a lot right now because the snow's going, and usually when we talk a lot about that, the snow is still here, because then the animals are hibernating and doing their things, you know, and we can talk then. But now they're out doing their thing, you know, so we don't talk about a lot of that stuff then. And yeah, our sacred responsibilities to the animals and everything. It's just like our simple story. One of them stories is like the plants and the animals were already here first. The Creator made all of that first. And then that's when He made the people after that. And He told all those creation out there, whether it be the trees, the animals, the waters, or whatever, told them, I'm bringing a very special being to this earth. I'm going to make a very special being. And if there's anything you can share and help this special being to give it as a gift, I would appreciate it, you know. So when told of that, you know, like the cedar tree here, they got a whole book on, you can look it up in the libraries. It's just called Cedar. And it's just the many ways the Indian people knew how to use that cedar, you know, from making a fish hook out of it, to twisting rope, to making clothing, to making bow drills, to making fire, to feed yourself, all of that. And then part of that creation story is when the Great Spirit was going to make that special being, which was humans, it asked the creation, is there anything you can offer this special being that I am making? So cedar tree would say, yes, I can teach them. They can use my bark for clothing. They can twist it up and make rope. They can make fine twine. They can make hooks out of, you know, my wood. You can catch fish. You can make a bow drill and make a fire, keep themselves warm. So when you think of it like that, it's like my great-great-great-grandparents arrived here totally naked and hungry, and nowhere to stay, no way to know how to take care of themselves. And that cedar tree helped them that much, teaching them to clothe themselves, to make a fire, to make a fish hook, go make nets, catch fish, feed yourself, right? Did that much for our people. So that's why our people so much respect the cedar tree. And that's just one being in this creation. The other animals and other things helped us also, like the caribou and the deer. The deer said, you can use my hide and make good clothing out of it. Can make moccasins for his feet. Can eat my flesh, keep them strong. I only eat medicines, the deer. They only eat medicines. So all that medicines are in them. When we eat their flesh, then we get help. All those medicines that it gathers its whole life, when we eat its flesh, that medicines help us people stay strong too. And a lot of stuff like that. That's why we got such strong feelings about creation, about the animals, about the fish, about the waters, about the trees, about all of it, about the air, because that's what sustained our people and took care of our people for all that time. We can talk about this land here, and it's different than a lot of lands. Like you drop over to the Okanagan, then it's different lands again. Then I don't know all about that, but you know, here I know a little bit about.